All right, UFC Fight Night, Song versus Figueiredo, full card predictions. We're in China, so the card's at a weird time, and it's a little bit of a weird card, but I'll run right through it, and then I'll talk a little bit about Road to UFC maybe. All right, so first fight of the card, Loma Lookboom versus Jacqueline Amorim. I'm going to go with... I don't know. I'm going to go with Loma Lookboom. I think that Amorim looked pretty bad in her last fight against Mizuki Inoue, who I never thought was that good. That was a little bit of a weird fight because Mizuki Inoue took a very long time off before that fight and came back looking better than ever, which never really happens, especially in women's MMA. So it's hard to know, like maybe Amorim had a really bad performance. Maybe Inoue is actually just that good. But I'm going to trust that maybe Amorim didn't look that good. She did get out-grappled, she did get out-struck, and I do think that she's going to have a striking disadvantage in this fight. Also, she mainly wins by finish. I don't know if she's ever won a decision in her career. Let me check. Yeah, she's 0-2 in fights that go the distance in her career. And Loma Lookboom doesn't really get finished. And Amorim, I don't think she's that great of a finisher. I think a lot of what's happening is she's just taking like pretty not great fighters in the UFC to positions where they don't usually end up. Pauliana Viana gets submitted in like every fight. Vanessa Demopoulos is pretty shit. I guess she's a good grappler, but so maybe that's impressive. But she's not like very good. Her wrestling's pretty shit. Her striking's pretty bad. And Corey McKenna, kind of a similar thing, like a decent grappler, just not like the best. Montserrat Ruiz, kind of the same thing. So I think a lot of what Amorim is doing is she's finishing fighters that aren't very good. But when it comes to like being the better fighter over 15 minutes, I don't think she's very skilled at doing that, saying she's never done it in her career. And I think Loma Lookboom has looked better with her grappling. She did get very handedly out-grappled by Alexia Tanara in their fight, but she showed like shades of decent wrestling, decent scrambles, not really getting, put in any positions of danger, which is where Jacqueline Amorim, finishes her opponents. So if Lookboom doesn't get finished, I think that she would win a decision, and win most of the moments on the feet and in the clinch. And I think that's how you beat Amorim. We saw Inoue put on like a 30-27, or maybe 29-28 masterclass, where she out-grappled her and out-struck her. So I'm going to pick Lookboom to do something similar, but maybe do a lesser degree, like maybe a closer 29-28, or maybe a split decision. I just think that she has a striking advantage, and Amorim can only win by getting submissions. I don't really see Lookboom getting finished, especially when Tanara couldn't, when she had 10 minutes of control. Next fight of the card, Kanji Zhu versus Rodrigo Vera. I'm almost exactly 50-50 on this fight. I really don't know who to pick. Both fighters, I think, are not very good, like not UFC level. I know Rodrigo Vera is 21-1-1, and a lot of times when you see South American prospects, they have ugly records. So when you see one with a really good record, like a Kevin Vallejos or a Gene Silva, or someone like that, it's like, oh shit, this is a good prospect. But Rodrigo Vera really hasn't fought anyone good. And when I say he hasn't fought anyone good, what I mean by that is he's basically exclusively fought really bad fighters. He's got a couple of his more recent fights in Shuto have been decent opponents, or Shuto and LFA. He fought Joao Oliveira and Jonathan Caetano, who are both decent fighters who I've at least heard of. But a lot of the guys he was fighting in FFC, where he went on like a 10-fight win streak, were pretty shit. I don't really think any of those guys are even close to UFC level. I think a lot of them aren't even close to Contender Series level. If you put a lot of those guys in LFA or in Shuto or in A1FC or any of those premier like regional promotions, I think a lot of them don't have a career. And Rodrigo Vera is kind of getting a good record from just beating up not very good fighters. And because of that, I'm going to pick Kanji Zhu. 21-4 isn't that much worse than 21-1-1, especially when you look at the level of competition that Zhu was fighting. In China, I mean, he did fight a lot of cans, I will say, but he fought on the road to UFC against Bin Ji, Shin Haraguchi, and Tetsuya Ando. All of them are good fighters, especially Tetsuya Ando, which was his clearest win of the three. He had a very good performance in that fight, where Ando's chin kind of carried him to a decision. But Ando, I think, is a very good fighter. He put on a war against Ryu Fukuda, where he ended up getting finished at the Ryzen New Year's event from last year, or I guess technically this year. And then he also looked pretty good in his fight before that in Ryzen, where Tetsuya Ando finished a guy with a pretty sick finish. He rocked him and then threw him with a judo throw and then jumped on his back and submitted him. So I respect a win like that. I think that Tetsuya Ando is better than every single fighter that Rodrigo Vera has ever fought, and Kanji Zhu pretty clearly beat him. So I'm going to pick Kanji Zhu, but kind of reluctantly. I do think that Rodrigo Vera could be the better fighter. Zhu does have kind of a hole in his game with his grappling. His grappling is not great. He does end up on his back and kind of get stuck there pretty often. That's why, you know, his most recent 2 fights on the road to UFC were so competitive, was because of a grappling disadvantage. And Rodrigo Vera is a very boring fighter who I think would be willing to take down and hold down Kanji Zhu. But I do think that in the striking, Zhu is going to have the advantage. I do think he is very tough, and he's kind of hard to hold down. He did get up a bunch against his most recent 2 opponents, but then he got taken down again. So there definitely is a possibility, and I think if Vera wins the fight, that's going to be how. But I don't think that Vera is a UFC level fighter, so I think that I'll pick Kanji Zhu. Next on the card, Jingnan Zhang versus Angela Hill. I'm going to go Zhang. She's one of the better fighters out of 1. She is pretty old. She is pretty past her prime, probably, at least you know, physically. So maybe not the best signing from the UFC. I don't think that Zhang's going to win a world title or anything. I think the competition in one's MMA is a little bit overrated. But she did beat, like, arguably the best fighters that one has ever had in the women's divisions in Angela Lee and Bo Mang. And I think she beat Angela Lee twice. So yeah, I'll go with Zhang. I think that Angela Hill is definitely, you know, I talk about Zhang is, 38. She's past her prime. Angela Hill is 41. She's coming off of 2 losses in a row. Arguably should be, 4 losses in a row. With a pretty close decision against Ketlin Soja, who is pretty solid. But yeah, I think Angela Hill's past her prime. She's not super active like she used to be, which I think is a sign of, physical regression. And I think Zhang is good enough to beat her, so I'll pick Jingnan Zhang. By the way, a lot of these Chinese names, I don't know how to pronounce them. Chinese names are kind of weird, where sometimes they pronounce the first name first, then the last name. And also the pronunciations are going to be kind of all over the place, because you have Chinese fighters, most of them from, Eastern China in Beijing and Shanghai and Hong Kong or whatever. But you do have some, like, I think Kanji Zhu, from, Tianjin and Inner Mongolia, like those Western Chinese provinces, where the names are ostensibly unpronounceable. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna do my best. But if you're watching a Chinese fight, the commentary is going to be in Chinese. I don't know how to pronounce any of the words they say. And then when I watch Road to UFC and the UFC fights, I have the commentary muted because it's unlistenable. So my pronunciation is going to be bad, but bear with me. But yeah, I'm going with Jingnan Zhang. Next fight of the card, we've got Ray Surya versus Louis Garrul. Louis Garrul coming off of, what is this, a 7-day turnaround? Maybe 6 days, because this is at, super early in the morning. Or no, I guess he fight a week before last week? I don't know. A 2-week turnaround. He fought Daniel Barres on the last card. I guess we had no card last week, so yeah. Basically, as fast as he could have turned around at this moment, a 2-week turnaround. He's fighting Ray Surya on short notice. I'm going to go with Ray Surya. I think Ray Surya is a very good fighter, and I also think something about him is he's the kind of fighter you have to prepare for. There's a lot of fighters in the UFC who are very, like, specialist, kind of one-dimensional. I'm thinking of, like, a Chase Hooper, or, like, even some of the, kickboxers. They're going to have very low grappling. So if you can neutralize their advantage, whether it's the striking or the grappling or whatever, you can prepare and pretty easily win the fight. Maybe not pretty easily, but, I would say easily. Like, we saw that Joshua Van, as soon as he was able to neutralize the grappling, especially in, like, the first and third round, he was able to put on the striking pretty easily and win that fight very clearly. It's just whether or not he's going to be prepared to, Louis Garrul's going to be prepared to deal with Ray Surya, is why I'm going to pick against him. I just don't think that you can prepare for a guy like Ray Surya in 2 weeks or in 10 days or whatever the notice was. Especially when he just fought Daniel Barres, who's not going to be nearly as much of a threat in the grappling. Ray Surya was preparing for Jesus Aguilar, and I imagine that his game plan for Jesus Aguilar and Louis Garrul are going to be pretty similar. Avoid the power, try to get low on the hips, maybe enter into clinch and try to stall. Try to slow them down, especially early on, so that power is gone. Because without the power, Louis Garrul and Jesus Aguilar are much less threatening, especially at flyweight, where you don't really have to worry about one-punch knockout power in most matchups. So yeah, I think Ray Surya, he's going to have a similar game plan. He's already prepared for this kind of fight. And Louis Garrul, not the best UFC fighter. I mean, he's 1-3 in the UFC. His only win is is against Daniel Barres from 2 weeks ago. And I don't think Daniel Barres is that good. So I'm going to go with Ray Surya. I think he is pretty solid. It's kind of hard to place, like, where he's at skill-wise, because his 2 fights in the UFC are against Carlos Hernandez and Joshua Van. And Carlos Hernandez might be the worst flyweight in the UFC right now, and Joshua Van is the best flyweight in the UFC right now. So it's like, well, we know he's somewhere between the worst fighter in the division and the best fighter in the division. And, that doesn't tell us a ton. But I'm going to go with him to beat Luis Guerrero. I think he's the better fighter. And also, I think the short notice matchup definitely helps him a lot. Next fight of the card, Aori Chilang versus Cody Haddon. I want to pick Cody Haddon, but I don't know. Cody Haddon is a big favorite. He's minus 355. And I think he did look good against Billy Brand and against Dan Argueta. But didn't have the best regional career. He could be the kind of fighter that looks good when he's winning and looks bad when he's losing. So I am worried about that. Aori Chilang is a very big bantamweight. All right, maybe not. I guess they're both similar size. I thought Aori Chilang, he looked really good against Cody Gibson, where he got a knockout in like 20 seconds. So of course, he's going to look good. He also looked, I think, pretty solid against Raul Rosas Jr. Probably did the best of anyone that Raul Rosas has fought, other than Christian Rodriguez, as far as when it came to neutralizing grappling. He really did do a good job stuffing the takedowns, and he made Raul Rosas Jr. look completely clueless on the feet. Did lose that fight. He did get taken down and controlled in moments, but I thought he looked solid. So I think he could look good against Haddon. I do think Haddon is well-rounded enough, and he does have like the physical attributes. He's not going to gas super hard. He's got decent power. He's got, he's not going to get chin super easily. He's not Cody Gibson where he's 40 years old. So I think that Cody Haddon could look good. He has taken a ton of time off, and I think most of the time he's taken off is because of injuries. I know he was supposed to fight, I want to say Peyton Talbot, right? Or not Peyton Talbot. What's his name? Malcolm Wellmaker. And then Ethan Ewing stepped in and won. But Ethan Ewing also fought Billy Brand on the Contender Series. So, yeah, maybe that means something. So I'll pick Cody Haddon. I think he's good. I am just worried about where he's going to be. And I am worried, like, Aori Chilang is a very good, or not very good, but he is well-rounded. He can stuff takedowns. He can knock you out. So this is definitely a dangerous fight for Haddon to come back to. And I don't love the odds, but I'll pick Haddon. Next fight of the card, Mang Ding versus Jose Enrique. Jose Enrique trains out of Nova União with Andre Pederneiras and presumably Jose Aldo or Damian Pinas, a couple of guys that train there. So he is good. He is kind of a weird fighter. He's 6'3" at welterweight, so he's pretty fucking big for the division. But he does have kind of a gut. At least he did on the Contender Series against Yusaku Kinoshita, where he lost. I thought he fought a decent fight in that fight. He looked solid in the striking. It was pretty even. Kinoshita, I don't think is that good. And Kinoshita did end up finding like a slip or a pull counter and kind of knocked out Jose Enrique. Or Jose Enrique. So I don't know. Jose Enrique, I don't really know how good he is. Mang Ding, he's fought a ton, but again, I don't really know how good he is because a lot of these Chinese guys, especially the Western Chinese guys for some reason, they will look really good against a 13-2 opponent, look really good against a 9-0 opponent, and then they'll fight someone who's like 48-98 or something like that. They'll fight someone with like the most ridiculous record you've ever seen, who's fought 10 times a year since they were 18 years old. Like, he'll fight a guy who is 29-39 and they're somehow 28 years old. Like, it doesn't make any sense. But what was I saying? Oh yeah, he'll look good against a prospect, then he'll lose to someone with a very ugly record, which he has done recently. He lost to Rami Hamed on the Contender Series. I don't think Rami Hamed is that bad, so I don't hate that loss. But he lost to Kwerbanjiang Tuluwasibake at some promotion in China, and that guy was 26-17. So I don't love that. But Mang Ding is the welterweight champion at what's it called, A1FC, whatever Uriah Faber's promotion's called, which I do think is pretty solid. The reason why I'm going to pick him is I think his experience is going to help. Jose Enrique, like I said, is 6'3" at welterweight, and I'm pretty sure everyone he's fought has been way smaller and probably has not fought a ton of 6'3" welterweights with good power. So I think that he's kind of winning a lot on that. The one guy that he's fought that I've heard of is Yusaku Kinoshita, and I don't think Kinoshita is that good, and Kinoshita did knock him out. So I think that Mang Ding, with the experience and being a pretty big welterweight himself at 6'2", I think he's just going to find the chin of Jose Enrique. Jose Enrique could be very improved. He is 3-0 since his Contender Series fight. He's only 24. He was, 21, 22 when he fought on the Contender Series. So, he could be very improved. Actually, I think he was 20. So he could be improved, but I think that the experience of Mang Ding is going to be more valuable than maybe a little bit of improvement. And I think that Mang Ding is just going to find the chin maybe a couple times on Jose Enrique and either get a finish or like a pretty dominant, or maybe not even dominant, just like a decision based on 2 knockdowns in 2 different rounds. So yeah, I'm going to go with Mang Ding. It's funny, Mang Ding, I always saw pictures of him posted on Twitter like years ago, probably like 2019, 2020, just because he had a funny name. And when Masvidal was in the sport, he used to say Mang all the time. So people used to like, Meng Ding's got a funny name, especially when Meng is already like kind of a meme. So it is weird to see him in the UFC. I know he's on the Contender Series before, but he was a guy who I knew in like 2020 when he had a very ugly Chinese record. But now he's in the UFC, so, and maybe he'll win. But this fight I think probably should have been on the Contender Series. I don't know if either of them have exactly earned their way into the UFC, but should be a decent fight. Next fight of the card, Luis Felipe Diaz versus Yisak Lee. I'm taking forever. I'm going to go with Diaz. I think he's the better fighter. I think he's slightly more proven. Both of these guys, I think, have very, kind of shitty, ugly regional careers. Luis Felipe Diaz fought a really bad fighter in the Contender Series and finished him, I think, in the second round with a rear naked choke. But he also did lose less than 4 years ago to a 14-7-1 guy who's not very good and a 27-1 guy who's not very good. Yisak Lee lost, 3 years ago to... No, it was a year and a half ago to a 12-9 opponent who's not very good. So I don't know that either of these guys are that good. I think Luis Felipe Diaz. I mean, I get that he won like impressively against a opponent on the Contender Series, so they kind of had to sign him. But he fought a guy who really wasn't that good, and I think that they probably should have made him come back and fight someone better. Like again, making this fight on the Contender Series, because neither of the guys have earned their way in the UFC. But I don't know. I'll go with Diaz. I think he's a little bit better, a little bit more proven, and I think he's a good finisher. And Yisak Lee is finishable. He has been finished before, so I'll go with Diaz. Next fight of the card, Alex Perez versus Sumo Darji. I'm going to go with Alex Perez. I think this should be a pretty easy win for Alex Perez. Sumo Darji has won his last 3 fights fighting against not good and very short opponents. He fought Kevin Borjas, Jesus Aguilar, and Mitch Raposa, who are all pretty short for flyweights. I think Jesus Aguilar and Kevin Borjas, other than Joshua Van, are the 2 shortest fighters in the division. I think they might even just be the 1 and 2 shortest fighters in the division. And Sumo Darji is the tallest fighter in the division. So I think he's kind of gotten off on, he's gotten by on beating fighters who are very short and aren't going to be very competitive in the striking. And that's kind of what he did. Like against Borjas and Aguilar, he just retreated the whole time, used his footwork, used his height, used his reach to keep his opponent away and just win moments on the feet without getting touched. And I think Alex Perez is very good at backing his opponents up against the fence and getting inside of their height. He fought Charles Johnson and finished him in the first round by getting on the inside of his reach. Charles Johnson is also one of the taller flyweights, and Perez looked very good against him. Charles Johnson, a little bit more proven than Sumo Darji. Alex Perez also did a good job getting on the inside against Mateus Nicolau, and he's able to finish him by cutting him off and finding a big punch on the inside. And I think Alex Perez is very underrated. I mean, he had a very competitive fight with Tatsuro Taira until he got injured at the end. Was it end of the first or end of the second round? End of the fight, I guess. He was looking very good against Asu Amabayev, arguably up 2-0 until he got finished in the third round of that fight. He arguably beat Muhammad Makayev, probably clearer than anyone else. I think he had the best performance against Makayev. And then you beat Charles Johnson, who is a very good fighter, who has a win over the current champion, and Joshua Van. So I think Alex Perez gets this done. I think he's the much better fighter. I'm surprised the odds are so close. I understand that Sumo Darji's bigger, but Charles Johnson was bigger, and Alex Perez finished him. And Charles Johnson's better than Sumo Darji. Did Sumo Darji beat Charles Johnson? I think Charles Johnson beat Sumo Darji. Yeah, he did. So I really don't understand the odds in this fight. Maybe because it's in China, but it's not like Perez is taking this fight on short notice. I forgot to mention that with Garul. Garul's taking this fight on short notice, and he has to fly across the world to fight there, whereas Perez is not. I understand that he's got to fly across the world, but he's the better fighter, and I think he's going to win, so I'm going to pick him. Next fight of the card, Jake Matthews versus Carlston Harris. I'm going to go with Jake Matthews. I could see this fight being close. Carlston Harris does have good counter wrestling. He fought in, I want to say Russia. Was it at M1? He fought a bunch of decent grapplers in his regional career. He looked decent in the grappling against Shavkat before he got finished by a wheel kick in that fight. But he's been on a bit of a shitty skid. He got knocked out by Chaos Williams by not grappling at all and just staying on the feet until he got knocked out. And then he also got knocked out by Santiago Ponzinibbio shortly after that fight, which is a bad look because Ponzinibbio is very old, is very washed, hasn't won, I think, since that fight. He's looked pretty shit in that fight. Like, since that fight, he got finished by D-Rod. So I don't love the loss to him. Jake Matthews has looked decent recently, but he did lose his last fight to Neil Magny after kind of getting robbed of a first-round finish. But he looked good against Chidi Njokwani, looked solid against Francisco Prado, and good enough against Phil Rowe on the feet that I think he's going to beat Carlston Harris. He just got to use the striking. Like, Carlston Harris is a pretty hesitant, shitty striker. I'm sure that Jake Matthews could finish him on the feet. But I think that, honestly, he probably just has like a boring tit-for-tat kickboxing match where he's slightly ahead the whole time. The only way I can see Carlston Harris winning this fight, which is a pretty reasonable way, is that Jake Matthews tries to out-grapple him for 3 rounds and just gasses out and is susceptible to being finished or losing the later rounds later in the fight. He did try to grapple a lot against Neil Magny. He grappled a decent amount against Chidi Njokwani. Or I guess he finished him in the grappling. So I could see him doing that, but I think that'd be pretty dumb. I feel like it doesn't take a genius to figure out that you can easily outstrike Carlston Harris. So I think this is what Jake Matthews is going to do. So I'm going to pick him. 96% of people are picking him though, again, on Tapology, which I think is a little bit much. Next fight of the card, Kai Asakura versus Cameron Smotherman. I'm going Kai Asakura. I swear to God, if he loses, I feel like I shouldn't have to explain myself on why I'm picking Kai Asakura to beat Cameron Smotherman. I know Smotherman beat Jake Hadley on short notice or whatever, but I think Jake Hadley just got cut from the PFL. So, I don't rate that win super highly. He's looked pretty shit against Surrey City and whoever he fought last. I don't even remember. Ricky Simone. Oh, he fought both those fights like a month apart. That was pretty dumb. He lost both of them pretty clearly. Ricky Simone solid. Surrey City solid, but I think Kai Asakura is much more dangerous than those two guys, and he's got experience against better opponents than Cameron Smotherman. The weight cut, I don't know. Like, honestly, I'm going to maybe sound stupid when I say this, but I do think that the Tim Elliott fight was kind of a fluke and kind of a bad matchup anyways. It was just hard for Kai Asakura to put anything together. Tim Elliott was just getting the bet on the feet, and then as soon as the fight got in any scramble, he immediately got caught in a guillotine, which I don't think happens, 10 times out of 10 or whatever. So I don't hate that loss from Asakura. Actually, I do hate it, but I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. Obviously, losing to Pantoja, I'm not going to take anything away from you, especially if you're going to go up a weight class after that. So, yeah, I think Asakura is dangerous enough on the feet to find a finish. I think he's also good enough, like he's well-rounded enough to just win the fight by a decision. I think he's the better fighter. I think he should get a finish. I'm going to pick Asakura by like a round 1, round 2 finish. Next up, the card, Sergey Pavlovich versus Taliesin Teixeira. I'm going Pavlovich. If you pick Teixeira, I think you're kind of an idiot. He could win. He's dangerous enough to get a win. But I just don't think he's that good of a finisher. Against Tai Tuivasa, he couldn't find really all that much success in the feet. He was the better fighter, but that's just because Tuivasa is shit and is on an 8-fight losing streak and gassed out in like a minute. Derek Lewis, he lost to Derek Lewis, and now he's fighting the number 3 ranked guy in the world. That's pretty funny. Justin Tafa is shit. So all of Taliesin Teixeira's wins or fights in the UFC are against shit fighters, and he lost one of them, and he looked bad in the other 2. I guess he didn't look bad against Tafa, but you get what I mean. Pavlovich should win this fight. He beat Waldo Cortez Acosta, who I think is much better than Taliesin Teixeira. He beat Jairzinho Rozenstruik, who I think is better than Taliesin Teixeira. Maybe both those guys are less dangerous, but I do think that Pavlovich is like the most dangerous guy in the division when he starts throwing. And if he gets in a war, I think that he's going to find the chin first. Taliesin Teixeira kind of got caught out of, he thought that he had like the tall man defense where he could just lean out of the way against a big punch against Lewis. And then Derek Lewis caught him. And Pavlovich has like 10 inches of more reach than Derek Lewis. So I'm going to pick Pavlovich. I just think he's more dangerous. I don't really know why I'd pick Teixeira. So yeah, I'm picking Pavlovich. Sorry, this is a pretty shit prediction video. I will say that my predictions on the last 2 China cards have been very bad. I think the last UFC Macau was my worst prediction event ever. I think I went 3 for 13 or something like that. But yeah, on to the co-main event, we got Mingyang Zhang versus Alonzo Menifield. I'm gonna go Mingyang Zhang. He did say something a little bit concerning at the press conference. I couldn't hear it because it was in Chinese. It didn't get translated, but someone on Twitter posted that he basically said that he was wearing sunglasses because he was trying to hide how bad the weight cut was affecting him, which isn't good. Menifield is dangerous, but I do think that Mingyang Zhang, what the fuck's his name? Mingyang Zhang is pretty good. I thought he looked good in all of his fights until the Johnny Walker fight. And even in the Johnny Walker fight, I thought he looked pretty solid. He immediately reversed a takedown into mount and was looking good in the first round. In the second round, he was looking solid. He was checking almost all the low kicks. And then Johnny Walker threw a kick. It hit the perennial nerve of Mingyang Zhang, and he was pretty much done after that. But he was able to take a pretty big fucking beating after that. His chin looked pretty solid. He didn't really get dropped at any points. He was just getting hit by big punches and kind of flopping onto the ground, trying to not get hurt. And Alonzo Menifield is just shit. He is just a dumb fighter. He did beat Umar Sy by Umar Sy doing nothing, but any fight where someone's tried to fight Alonzo Menifield, like the Carlos Solberg fight, like the Volkan Oezdemir fight, he gets finished and loses. So, yeah, I'm going to pick Mingyang Zhang. I think he's a pretty similar fighter to Volkan Oezdemir. They kind of stand in a similar way. They throw similar punches. They've got similar power. I think Oezdemir's maybe a little bit more technical, maybe a little bit better fight IQ. But I do think that Mingyang Zhang is a very good, dangerous fighter. And I think he should finish Alonzo Menifield. So I'm going to pick him. Yeah. I feel like a lot of people gave Sean O'Malley and maybe even Israel Adesanya against Pereira in the first fight. I think they gave both of them pretty big breaks for getting kicked in the peroneal nerve. You know, we saw O'Malley fight Chito Vera the first time. He got kicked in the peroneal nerve. He was kind of done after that. And then he fights him in the rematch and has like one of the most dominant title fight performances of all time against him. So I do think that it is fair to give fighters slack. It is kind of a fluky thing to kick someone in the peroneal nerve and get a finish after that. So I'm going to give Ming Yang a break after the Johnny Walker fight. And I think he should come back and win this one in his home country of China. So yeah, I'll pick him. And then main event, we've got Song Yadong versus Deiveson Figueiredo. I'm going Song Yadong. Again, Figueiredo is fighting as a giant fucking underdog. And I think it should be like pretty even odds. He is a very good fighter. He was one of the best flyweight champions of all time. He did almost clear out that division. He's looked really good at bantamweight, despite what the odds makers have put him. He beat Rob Font. He beat Cody Garbrandt. He beat Chito Vera. He dropped Chito Vera, which no one else has done before or since. His losses are to Peter Yan, Corey Sandhagen, and Umar Nurmagomedov, who are probably the 3 of the 4 or 5 best guys in the division, which I don't hate. He was a big underdog against Montel Jackson. Had kind of a stinker in that fight, but he won. And now he's a big underdog again against Song Yadong, who, unfortunately for him, I think is like the 6th best fighter in the division, or maybe like the 7th, 6, 7. So I'm going to pick him. Song Yadong's close to his prime. I think a lot of what Figueiredo has won off of is just being the more dangerous guy. He is pretty quick, but he's small. He's not that quick. He used to be a lot quicker, but for a bantamweight, he's pretty quick. So a lot of what he has been doing is just being the harder hitting, quicker guy who's just got to get past the range of his opponent. And I think that's not really the case in this fight. I do think Song Yadong does hit harder than him. I think Song Yadong's going to be quicker, and I think he's going to be bigger. So I think that Figueiredo isn't really at the point in this fight where he's like, I just got to land the one big punch. I think I've got to avoid the one big punch, and I've got to land some pretty good shit of my own and be a little bit more technical. And I think that's just going to be hard for him to do. He hasn't really been able to do that in much of his fights. Maybe he did that against Montel Jackson in a very close fight. And I think that Song Yadong is better than Montel Jackson. Against Rob Font, against Chito Vera, against Cody Garbrandt. I mean, Cody Garbrandt was outstriking him, but against those 3 fighters, he had to use some sort of like hole in his opponent's game or like some significant physical advantage that he had. And I don't think he's going to have any of those advantages in this fight. So I think that Song Yadong is probably going to win. I don't think Song Yadong is going to finish him. Maybe Figueiredo is that old and washed. I just think that it's going to be a close, maybe boring tit-for-tat fight on the feet. Song Yadong can push a pace. He was looking good against Cejudo, in my opinion. I had him up 3-0 in that fight. A lot of people had it closer, but I thought he was pretty clearly beating Cejudo. And then later, once that, after the eye poke, he was landing pretty good success at a pretty high pace. So I think he can do that to Figueiredo too. I just think Figueiredo is maybe a little more dangerous, so he's going to be reluctant. When Figueiredo fought a dangerous guy, he was pretty reluctant in their fight against Montel Jackson. So, yeah, this could be a boring fight, but I do think that Song Yadong is going to win it. So, yeah, those are my picks for the card. Let me see if there's anything else this weekend. I know that there is Road UFC. There was some earlier today. There's more tomorrow. I think Darren Till's fighting later today in BKFC. So there's that. But, fucking Foster versus Ford is this weekend. I really hate O'Shaquie Foster. I think he is pretty overrated. But he did beat Stephen Fulton, and I think Fulton might be better than Ray Ford. So I'm going to pick Ray Ford just because I hate O'Shaquie Foster. There's Rising next weekend. So yeah, that's pretty much all from this weekend. Let me know your thought of the picks. Let me know if you agree or disagree. Comment if you want to hear more about a certain pick. I'll be live tweeting the event and maybe Road to UFC tomorrow and maybe BKFC tonight on Twitter. Link is in the description. Like the video, share the video, subscribe if you want to see more. I've got predictions going back to the beginning of last year. I've got recap for a lot of the cards from the last year or so. So yeah, that is all. I think that's it. I was going to say more, but for the Road to UFC card, I was going to pick Long Ju. Obviously today he's a minus 4,000 favorite. He won as the biggest favorite in UFC history. I'm going to pick Pooja Tamar versus Shi Ming. I really don't think Shi Ming is that good. I think Pooja Tamar is fine. She was beating Mama B. She's beating Shauna Bannon. She dropped Shauna Bannon, which no one else has done since. So yeah, I'm going to pick Pooja Tamar in that fight. So yeah, pretty decent weekend of fights. I'm going to be on Chinese time. I'm at a very Chinese point in my life because, I got to wake up. I woke up this morning to watch Road UFC. I'm waking up tomorrow to watch Road UFC and then waking up early. I might just stay up all night on Saturday or Friday night to watch is it in Macau? It's in China, whatever. So yeah, cards early. Remember to get up early to watch them or, get Paramount and watch them after the fights. But yeah, that is all. Thank you for listening.